welcome back. For this episode, I want to focus on The Monkey's Paw, which aired during the second Simpsons Treehouse of Horror during their third season. Now, this episode was produced by showrunners Al Jean and Mike Reiss. They ran the series during seasons 3 and 4. They took over the show after Matt Groening, James L. Brooks, and Sam Simon after they ran from the first two seasons. And their style is largely the same as those three. They didn't change what they had established. All they did was they added some few personal touches here and there, expanding the Simpsons template, which explains why the first 4 seasons are largely the same, and the fact that they still had the same creative staff and writing team around. What makes The Monkey's Paw interesting is that this one is based on folklore, the type of thing that EC Comics would cover. For those that don't know, EC Comics was a legendary comic book publisher that was around during the 40s and 50s. While Marvel and DC focused on superheroes, EC Comics focused on suspense, thriller, and horror stories, often with a twist or a moral consequence at the end. And this story follows that same route with The Monkey's Paw. And that story always freaked me out because the basic idea of just the actual hand had always disturbed me just looking at it, and the fact that what you might think is good on the surface turns out to be awful in the end. Wishing. You might wish for something good, but it might be a trap and you might get owned. That's the simplest way of putting it. And The Simpsons nails that in this episode. That and the fact that they make it funny, and that's why I've always enjoyed this skit. And the skit begins in the funniest of ways when the Simpsons travel to the Middle East randomly, and they come across this strange man from the bazaar who gives them the monkey's paw. They think it's a cheap trinket, but it's actually a magical, device, as we find out. And I always enjoyed the man at the bazaar because he has this funny way of speaking, like when he says, "You'll be sorry." And I always laugh at that because not just for the voice acting, but also visually the way it's done, because you see him from the far distance saying that. And I always enjoy that for that reason. And back to the wishes. It begins first with Maggie's wish. Now, Maggie's is funny because when she does her first wish, they think that she, made them wealthy because they see a huge limo, in the front yard, only to find out that's only there to present Maggie with a new pacifier. Not a shiny one, but just a basic one to replace her old one. And as soon as she gets it, the car leaves and Homer's like, "Yo!" And that was super funny. And that leads, of course, to Bart wishing that the Simpsons have, fame and fortune. And that leads to one of the funniest bits in the entire episode. This happened when the Simpsons were huge. And I'm exaggerating, it was Simpsons Mania. You may not remember this if you weren't in the 90s, but after the first season, the show was one of those lightning in a bottle moments that happens once in a while. Like Pokemon. If you remember the Pokemon craze, that was Simpsons Mania. It was everywhere. You had it from shirts, music, books, everywhere. And they comment on that when the people in the restaurant are saying, "Oh, it's the Simpsons. I thought I could get used to their antics, but now I'm just tired of them. I'm bored of it." And they were commenting on how people were reacting to Simpsons Mania, that there's a backlash starting to form. And this leads to another funny bit when Helen Lovejoy sees this huge ad promoting mammograms with Bart, and she's so offended. And it's just super funny seeing her, indignation at it. And of course, Marge is uncomfortable with the fame and fortune that they've gotten, also alluding to the fact that the writers were no one expected The Simpsons to be as big as they were. It was the first successful cartoon in prime time since the Flintstones. It was truly a huge deal. And this leads to the third wish by Lisa, which is the most consequential wish because she wishes for world peace, which Homer says that was super selfish of her. Which, if you think about it, he kind of has a point because it benefits everyone but themselves. But it helps the many but the few, like how Spock would put it. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I just want to put that Star Trek reference in. But we see, now that the world has peace, that there are no weapons. And one of the smartest gags in the episode is with the Pentagon. The Pentagon becomes the 5-point wall because the Pentagon has 5 points. And there's a sign that says danger, for the missile testing or stuff happening. There's a little girl who then switches the letters to read from danger to garden. And I thought, wow, I never knew that. I mean, that is so cool. I never knew that the word garden was in the word danger. I mean, that's some really smart stuff. I mean, it goes to show how on it the writers are. And remember, the writers, come from, places like National Lampoon. I mean, they know their stuff. That was super clever. But of course, with peace on earth, girl to men means destruction from Kane and Kodos. Now, their appearance is really cool because this was their second time. The first time was during the first Halloween episode, when they bring the family up to their ship. Originally, they were just going to be one-off characters. But the characters, which were inspired by EC Comics, the writers enjoyed the characters so much they brought them back for this episode, which confirms their, annual appearance for all the Halloween episodes to come. So they then, take over as we're used to, whenever they want to take over the world. And Homer and everyone else is freaking out. And everyone, again, alluding to the commentary from Simpsons Mania, now they wish the Simpsons were dead because they're tired of them. So Homer wishes for a sandwich, and not just any sandwich, the perfect sandwich. He doesn't want any consequence to come from the sandwich. He doesn't want, just as an example, zombies or plagues or anything like that to happen. He just wants a normal sandwich. But it turns out the sandwich is not to his liking because it doesn't taste as good as he thought it would. So he then gives up on the monkey's paw and gives it to, guess who? Ned Flanders. And who doesn't love Ned Flanders? Ned Flanders is awesome. So Ned, common sense, wishes for the aliens to go away, and they do. The people fight back, and Ned becomes the hero. And I had to say what might be the funniest bit in the entire episode is what Ned Flanders wishes for his house to become. He wishes for his house to become Cinderella Castle from the Magic Kingdom. And as a, theme park buff and a Disney geek, that always makes me laugh out loud because it's so funny when The Simpsons, takes a jab at Disney. They do it as fans of Disney and also as critics of Disney. And that was so hilarious that they actually made the castle, very much like the actual castle, only with a different color shading involved. That was super funny. And that's why the monkey's paw is on my list. That's it for now. Tune in for the next story. Until then, see you later.